A new study suggests that two of the closest galaxies to the Milky Way, the Large and Small Magellanic Clouds, may have had a third galactic companion. The findings, reported in the journal Monthly Notices of the Royal Astronomical Society, are based on retrograde motions of a group of stars within the Large Magellanic Cloud. The Large and Small Magellanic Clouds are two dwarf galaxies clearly visible in the southern night skies to the unaided eye. The Large Magellanic Cloud is about 160,000 light-years away, making it one of our nearest galactic neighbours, while the Small Magellanic Cloud is only slightly further away, at around 200,000 light-years. The study's lead author, Benjamin Armstrong from the International Centre for Radio Astronomy Research in the University of Western Australia, says the observations suggest another galaxy was likely engulfed by the Large Magellanic Cloud sometime around 3 to 5 billion years ago. Most of the stars in the Magellanic Cloud rotate clockwise around the galactic centre. But unusually, there's a population of stars which rotate anticlockwise. Now, astronomers originally thought that these stars might have come from its companion galaxy, the Small Magellanic Cloud. There's a gravitational tidal stream of stars linking the two, and then extending from them onto the Milky Way. To find out what's going on, Armstrong and colleagues used computer modelling to simulate possible galactic merger scenarios. The idea being these stars may well have come from a past merger with another galaxy. The authors found a merging event resulting in strong counter-rotation after the merger takes place. And this simulation was consistent with the stellar observations made. The findings could also help explain other observations which have perplexed astronomers for years, namely why stars in the Large Magellanic Cloud are generally either very old or very young. That problem's based on observations of star clusters, which usually contain large populations of stars originally formed at the same time from the same molecular gas and dust cloud. In the Milky Way, these star clusters are all very old. But in the Large Magellanic Cloud, astronomers have seen both very old and very young star clusters, but nothing in between. And that suggests that something's happened during the evolution of the Large Magellanic Cloud, which has triggered a fresh round of starburst. Armstrong says the galactic merger could help explain both the age gap problem and why the Large Magellanic Cloud appears to have a thick disk. He says while the work's still very preliminary, it does suggest that this sort of process could have been responsible for the thicker disk in the past.
The Large and Small Magellanic Clouds are quite unusual galaxies in some ways. They have a lot of properties that the Milky Way, our galaxy, doesn't share. In the Large Magellanic Cloud, one of the unusual features is that there's a population of stars that doesn't seem to be doing what all the other stars are doing. So where the Large Magellanic Cloud is moving clockwise, these stars are moving anti-clockwise.
What do you put that down to?
So it was originally thought these stars had come from the Small Magellanic Cloud, but the direction that they're spinning doesn't really make sense for that to have occurred. So our idea was that these stars would have logically come from a different galaxy that has since been merged with the Large Magellanic Cloud, or eaten, as it were.
Because when we look at galaxies, we know they grow through a process of merging or cannibalization. In fact, right now, there are stellar streams and Magellanic bridges between the Small and Large Magellanic Clouds, and between the Magellanic Clouds and the Milky Way. So we know this process is going on. We can look at star trails within our own galaxy. Stars there are traveling at different velocities, even in different directions compared to surrounding stars. And that's caused because our own galaxy has been consuming stars from other galaxies. And that's sort of what you're seeing in your computer simulations of the LMC.
Yeah, we can use, as you mentioned, things like the Magellanic Bridge and the stream. They're all very direct evidence we can see in the sky of these sort of interactions having taken place. So with using our simulations, we can reproduce many of these features, but these simulations require a different sort of interaction to something that would create these counter-rotating stars. So through our simulations, we've shown that you need a different kind of interaction to create the stars we see in the Large Magellanic Cloud.
When we look at both the Large and Small Magellanic Clouds, we think that they were once little spiral galaxies that have been madly disrupted, and everyone thought that was because, well, they're so close to the Milky Way, the Milky Way's gravitational pull would have perturbed them. But I guess if there was a third galaxy involved, that would also explain it, wouldn't it?
It's very possible. We certainly know that the Magellanic Clouds have been interacting with each other for quite some time in the past, and that the Milky Way is a relative newcomer to their interactions. So the idea that if this merger has taken place in the past, it could very much explain some of the unusual things we do see in the Large Magellanic Cloud. For example, the Large Magellanic Cloud has a quite unusually thick galactic disk.